From the Ticats Audio Network, this is the Ticats This Week with RJ Broadhead and Luke Tasker.
Ticats This Week is back. That means the Tiger Cats are back. Seems like forever since they've had a game. I'm RJ Broadhead, Luke Tasker. It does seem like a long time since we've seen the Tiger Cats on the field, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. The early bye weeks in the season are always sort of, I don't know, it's a puzzle to figure out if they're good or bad. And I think, if you go back and listen to our recording at the end of the Montreal game of the broadcast, I think there was a consensus that it was sort of unfortunate timing, but you got to make the most of it. And a bye week has its built-in benefits. But yeah, sort of a strange pause here before the Ticats can sort of move on with the rest of their season starting this weekend.
Well, what did you think? Did you feel like it, and as a player, would it be a good time for a bye, or did you want to just kind of move on and get back on the field after what happened against Montreal? My
initial response from a player's perspective is that every bye week is good, and you need it no matter where you are in the season. You need it physically. You can make the most of it. You can see your family. Training camp ends and you move right into the season. So you there's still some guys probably looking for their apartment for the year and stuff. There's some logistical things that a bye week can help with, and that's a player's perspective. That's sort of the stuff that doesn't really sort of matter to people outside of those inner circles. But for me and my reaction after the game, RJ, was sort of more so from a coaching or management perspective that you kind of want to get right back to work. A player always needs a bye week. It's the PA, that protects the players, that fights for the bye weeks, right? It's a player protection thing. It's to help the healthy and liveliness of the players through the season. But from the coaching and management perspective, it is a tough pause, and that's sort of was my point in our broadcast that. Yeah, I mean, the Ticats are trying to get a lot of things corrected, and they have sort of a laundry list of corrections to make that we'll get into here. But you just hope that the rest sort of outweighs, maybe just the hiccup to the rhythm of the season, and we'll see. I think there's actually some statistics coming out as the season forms into shape. The league starts putting out all these interesting little quirky statistics that you and I, of course, love to bounce back and forth. The weirder the statistic, the better for us.
Definitely.
But every team that's come off a bye week so far in this young part of the season here has won their game. So maybe it's a good thing.
It is. And my statistics, the in-depth statistics, go back to 2021. First year doing play-by-play for the Tiger Cats, and that's when the Ticats Audio Network originated. So since 2021, I'm going to make this sound as great as possible. Since 2021, the Tiger Cats have never lost coming out of a bye week. So that's a couple of bye weeks in 2021, 3 last season, and here we are in 2023. So I don't know, is it guaranteed win against Ottawa? Can we go that far or not yet?
Well, it's more than that. They've got a very successful record at home against Ottawa as well. So to be honest, we could get lost in these statistics. There's still just a ton of work to do. It is bye week or no bye week, Ottawa or no Ottawa. It'll be a hard game here for the Ticats at home.
Well, and it didn't work out great for them during the time off because Toronto, boom, they had week 1 off. All of a sudden, they're 3-0, rattled off 3 wins. Montreal's got a couple of wins. Ottawa has a win, so that leaves the Tiger Cats in the basement. And you now have to take a quick glance over to the West Division, see what's going on there. And Calgary has 1 win. Edmonton's having all kinds of problems. Tiger Cats have them next week. It'll be a short week for the Tiger Cats because they'll play on Thursday in Edmonton. But we know the Elks have struggled, especially at home, so that could work out for the Tiger Cats. But they have to take care of business against Ottawa because, as mentioned, Redblacks have a win. If they beat the Tiger Cats, now they have 2 wins. Not insurmountable, but a terrible hole, and it would be another start to the season where the Tiger Cats lose their first 4 games. So I know you're not going to say we're in must-win category, but this has to be really close to a very mandatory win. Can we say mandatory instead of must? It's pretty much
Maybe
the same word.
I'm not sure if that's different, actually. But
no, same meaning, different word.
But you know what? The difference is, RJ, remember last year the Ticats were struggling, and it was like everyone was like, no problem. The East was just really bad. Across the board. It was just nobody was clawing ahead in the East. And of course, interdivisional game, somebody's going to get the win in most cases. But this year's different. Toronto is a good-looking team, and so if they get out ahead, then the spots are fewer and fewer. So it is, in a sense, I think the urgency is greater this year than it was last year when the Ticats were at 0-3, sort of par for the course in what was a really struggling East Division, which, by the way, produced the Grey Cup champion, obviously, in the Argonauts, who pulled it together when it counted. But that same Argonaut team is off to a really great start now, and so it changes the dynamic. And Ottawa, well, they look a little different this week now with Jeremiah Mazzoli, who is in the top 50 of quarterbacks ever in the CFL. He's a guy who Hamilton fans obviously know very well, who I know very well and respect. I mean, and so now they've got their guy there too. So it's go time, man. It's time you gotta start winning games.
I looked when I saw Jeremiah Mazzoli would be the starter. Do you think he had this game circled on the calendar that's my target date to be healthy and ready to go?
He may have, and fortunate scheduling too. If it came about, the league formats these games, and it by chance falls where his injury is kind of getting healthier and healthier, and from just this like CFL fans should be excited for this game. I mean, this is a really great moment when you get one of these big guys back on the TV for the back on the field for just the healthiness of the league. You look through Jeremiah's history, he's got, literally hundreds of passes and completions and thousands of yards against all these different CFL teams, except for one line across the board. He has no stats ever against the Hamilton Tiger Cats, right? Because he's this will be the first time he's ever played against the Hamilton Tiger Cat team, and in Hamilton. I mean, it's just a very, very exciting CFL day. So I'm excited for Jeremiah and excited to see him play. And the Ticats have their work cut out, but when you flip the side of that, and you have Matt Schultz, who is, like you and I've talked about repeatedly, he'll do some things that are very impressive in every single game, and he certainly did that against Montreal, and it's eliminating those costly mistakes. And he's playing at a great at an expert level as well.
Yeah. Okay. So. A couple of issues on offense. 2 straight games where the Tiger Cats haven't scored a touchdown. How concerned are you about that?
Fairly concerned. That you gotta change that pretty quickly. So, boy, there's a couple places to point to, and I guess my first one is first downs. The Ticats just time and again, if they're moving the ball down the field, they're doing so with some miraculous second down plays. And if they are able to string a drive together where they're putting themselves in a second and less than 5, they look great. I mean, they're efficient. They're able to to spread the ball to different players. But for much of their games, they've really, really struggled to put themselves in a favorable second down position, and that's just a recipe for an inefficient offense. You can't a second in 8 or more is a very low probability play. I mean, you're going to be making that less than, maybe 30% of your tries. So not easy to do. Their opponents, specifically to Montreal, were efficient on first down. It was a very different looking offense when the field would flip. So that's the first thing. And then the other part is the times where they have gotten into the scoring zone, they've been unable to finish those drives frequently. So, and especially early on when the game is still young and if you're not behind, you got to be able to put some points on the board early, so you can give yourself the option to kick that field goal later. You can give yourself the option to just kick a single instead of having to go for 2 in those situations that we've seen them in. So score zone efficiency and first down efficiency is what we need to see, and maybe a different conversation, but also contributing to this is, of course, the turnovers. And of the interceptions that we've seen, both of those were the timing of them, the field position of them, and then, of course, one produced a defensive touchdown in Montreal. Those two turnovers, you've got to eliminate those as well.
Yeah, Montreal, defensive touchdown, special teams touchdown, and, of course, touchdowns on offense. And you've talked about that. The chances of losing a game when you score in all three aspects are pretty slim, and they certainly didn't lose. I remember you and I looked at each other. First two drives or early on, Tiger Cats got the field goal, and then they got another field goal, but kind of felt like if those had been touchdowns, it would have been a different game. A 6-0 lead obviously didn't hold up, but I remember you and I talking in the commercial break thinking, that's good. It's a good lead, but touchdowns would have made a huge difference. And as it turned out, it did come back to haunt the Tiger Cats because the offense went quiet.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, a team that's operating, really well at a high level, firing on all cylinders, they're going to follow up those two field goals with another, a good drive. But when you're trying to find yourself as a team, you got to kind of capitalize on the chances that you get. And yeah, the Ticats really had a chance to take a really impressive lead in that first quarter of the game in Montreal. It's sort of a chicken and egg thing. I mean, does confidence come first and then success, or do you need success and then have confidence and you gotta get lucky, but then you also gotta capitalize on your opportunities. And I keep going back. I think about those interceptions, both to the right side of the field, the offensive perspectives, right to the right and way out to the sidelines, and those tough throws. And Coach O mentioned in the Coach O show, there's, we are all accustomed to, quarterback throw interceptions, his fault, quarterback fault, bad throw. There's other things that we can't see too. And he alluded to the routes being run as well. And so there's other things in the works with this offense that has to get solidified. And, you do have still, while he is a veteran, and Matt Schultz, this is not the offense that the Ticats expected to have out there, for their fourth game of the season.
Yeah, well, Matt Schultz has a little more time to prepare for this start. Taylor Powell back up, and Kai Loxley signed as the third-string quarterback. If it's a successful, healthy game for the Tiger Cats, we probably won't see him, but he'll be on the sidelines. Game time is 7 o'clock. Kickoff is 7 o'clock at Tim Hortons Field, and this is the first South Plaza Saturday of the season. So all sorts of great things for families to do just south of Tim Hortons Field. There'll be inflatables. There'll be face painting. It's going to be a beautiful day, too. Beautiful evening. So get out there. There's an autograph session with some of the members of the Tiger Cats. Tim Cheatwood will be there. He's the alumnus of distinction. And one lucky attendee to South Plaza Saturday will win a pair of tickets to the 110th Grey Cup at Tim Hortons Field in November. And if you're there in the South Plaza and you're there early, you might even get to see Luke Tasker walking in from the parking lot.
Very early, though. We're up there on the 7th floor preparing quite early. But yeah, what a fun day in the South Plaza, and another plug for the upcoming Grey Cup, which I'm very excited for. The unabbreviated Grey Cup, as we say. The 2021 was technically an abbreviated Grey Cup celebration, although it was an awesome week in Hamilton. But very excited for this year's.
Yeah, and Tiger Cats were in that game, and we know they've got a little work to do, but that's how they do it. Make it interesting, make it exciting, keep the fans on the edge of their seat all season long. One thing I wanted to ask you about that game against Montreal, the Tiger Cats on offense, they passed 47 times, they rushed just 9 times. Now, it could have been because they were trailing. Do you think it was because of that, or was that game plan? That's a big discrepancy. 47 pass plays compared to 9 run plays. Yeah.
I think the majority of that would fall to, being behind and just moving the ball down the field. It's also about that first down efficiency. It's not, it's really hard to run the ball on 2nd and 7, 2nd and 9, repeatedly. And you give it a couple of shots, and James Butler, hoping that we see a great deal of success from him in this coming match versus Ottawa. But when it's not there, if you're a coordinator, is the second quarter of an actual football game the time to work on your run game to figure it out? No, you got to go and you got to do what's working today right now. You can't figure it out. It's not a preseason game, and it's not. practice or training camp. And so when something's not working that night, and the Ticats have had their offensive line injuries as well. And so, we're not exactly, meaning we as, analysts and fans aren't exactly privy to the functionality of the run game and those front five. But if it's just not working at that time, you've got to go elsewhere to find an answer. You don't have you're not allowed, or you don't have the allowance of and freedom to just try to figure your way through it and get a run game going. And so that's Matt Schultz had the ball in his hand, like you said, to throw it 47 times, and that's a heavy burden. And the more times you throw the ball, the higher the probability becomes of throwing an interception as well, of course.
Yep, and he had 2 in the game. You mentioned the turnovers. Tiger Cats, it's been a couple of seasons now where they know they need to win the turnover battle and have struggled to do so, but you can't win the turnover battle if you don't get any takeaways. And now it's 2 straight games where the Tiger Cats don't have any takeaways. And maybe you attribute that to the other team and doing a good job with ball security, but that's an area where you just know the defense is wanting to improve. Yeah,
it's just so interesting to me that the Ticats have struggled in both the giveaways and takeaways. That'll lead to a really poor looking ratio, but they really are separate categories. I mean, it's two different, parts of the team, 2 different skill sets. But the mindset is one. The mindset of a team culture of ball security, that's a consistent thing across offense, defense, special teams. But the actual skill set and, ability of takeaways and giveaways are different. And the Ticats have struggled on both sides of it. Jeremiah Mazzoli, it's been a year since he's played. He'll want, he's going to have some rust to get out as well. So can the Ticats secondary, unfortunately, also a position group that's had some injury and adversity, can they take advantage of Jeremiah getting back into rhythm? Maybe you'd hope so. And you've got to remember, and we have actually seen some evidence of this, but you've got a defensive head coach in Orlando Steinauer, and a lifelong special teams coordinator who is committed to turnovers and ball security. Those guys are tackling with their hatchets out, as they say, coming in with a hand on the ball. And so you just keep at it, doing the right things. And this defense and special teams, you hope that produces some turnovers.
Well, let's address what you mentioned, the secondary. And so Lawrence Woods is out. Dexter Lawson, rookie, will start on that field side corner. Richard Leonard, consistent. We were talking about it earlier. You could probably pencil him in for his 5 tackles, 1 or 2 knockdowns. Maybe he's the guy that gets a takeaway. He's always good for a handful in a season. On the other side, Kenneth George, rookie corner, Javian Elliott, and no Tunde. Tunde Adeleke is out for the Tiger Cats. Stavros Katsantonis, he's had a good special team season. He had an interception in the preseason. He's very, very capable replacement, but Tunde might be the best safety in the CFL. So missing him, what does that do to the secondary of the Tiger Cats?
Yeah, well, it does make a Ticat fan thankful for Stavros Katsantonis, who's kind of, for the years he's been in Hamilton, fills in and plays well. I mean, I really like the way he plays football, and he's always got his nose on the ball in special teams, and he's filled in and made big tackles and big plays as a free safety when he's had to as well. It is troubling. Tunde Adeleke on the 6th game, that's not necessarily a permanent thing, but it's not obviously what you'd like to see either. So it's the story of football, and you know what? It's almost like if this was the Edmonton Audio Network or BC, does every team, are they all out there complaining about their injuries? Probably. It is a part of the sport, but I don't know. It does really kind of seem to hit the Ticats in specific position groups, repeatedly or just all at once sometimes. And we'll see how these guys like Stavros Katsantonis and some of these O linemen who are filling in and bouncing around can produce.
Yeah, I have high hopes for them, and the game is at 7:00, the kickoff. But keep in mind the Tiger Cats pregame presented by Greenworks starts at 6. So it's an hour pregame show. You're going to want to tune into that with Bubba O'Neill and Andy Fantus because it's our Greenworks Listen to Win contest. Listen for a keyword. So they'll give you a keyword in that pregame, and then somebody's going to win a Greenworks 40-volt, 16-inch cordless lawnmower. So again, Tiger Cats pregame starts at 6 o'clock on Saturday. You can listen at listen.ticats.ca, get that keyword, win that 40-volt, 16-inch cordless lawnmower. Game changer. I've got one of those. You don't need to worry about gas. It's a great mower. The battery lasts forever, so it's amazing. You'll want to tune into pregame for all the great information and then listen to the game. But also, hey, winning a lawnmower is not too bad either.
Not bad at all. Very nice.
A couple of guys I'm interested in seeing, and I'm sure Tiger Cats fans are too. Jared Hewitt playing on the interior of the defensive line. It's, it seems to be a lot of depth on that defensive line for the Tiger Cats, and we're going to get to see the rookie Hewitt, and maybe that's an area where the Tiger Cats want to get a little more pressure on the quarterback. They did a pretty good job against Cody Fajardo, but it's one of those things. If you can keep the quarterback on the run and under pressure and uncomfortable, that helps other aspects, right?
Here's another unbelievable stat that came out from the league this year. If a quarterback's been sacked on a drive, there has not been a single touchdown produced after on that same drive this season. If the defense gets to the quarterback, no touchdowns have resulted from those drives. I mean, that's really telling how hard that is. The CFL, it's tough. That's for an offensive game. You got to remember the one big thing that swings that pendulum back towards defensive favor is that there's only 2 chances to get the first down. So if you take a 7-yard loss, 5-yard loss, which would be a totally normal loss on a quarterback sack, it really the probability of moving the chains again is way, way, way down. And you're right, that's another area where you'd love to see that Ticat defense increase a little production and that the quarterback sacks along with some takeaways.
Tyreek McAllister, this guy, I'm saying Carthel Flowers Lloyd is going to be a star in the next year or two, maybe even this season. He's all over the place. We saw him in the preseason. He's been a special teams nightmare. He has a block punt this season. Love watching him. He's going to get himself into the lineup on a permanent basis somehow on defense. But Tyreek McAllister could be that guy on offense. He's listed as a slot back and a returner for this game against Ottawa, but he's also a running back, so he can do a little everything. And I remember watching him in his very first practice, and he stood out. Who's this number 35 out there? And not many guys in their very new to a team stand out in their very first practice. So he's going to get a huge opportunity, it appears. And this guy spent a little time in the NFL, but McAllister could be one of those hidden gems that the management and scouting staff has discovered. I'm excited to see what he can do. Are you?
Yeah, I certainly am. And we saw him a little bit on special teams in the Montreal game, and then he's lined up on the depth chart. We're going to see him a little bit, out as a wide receiver or a slot back there. And, you've got the balancing of the different identifiers for players, national and designated national and stuff. And Duke Williams, of course, is behind him. So we're going to see a lot of Duke Williams as well. Yeah. But McAllister, I'm guessing he's going to kind of get plugged in around where he can in the backfield and then split out as well. So interesting. I think in our conversation with the run game, Tommy Condell has always been part of his run game. It includes receivers. I mean, that's just part of the nature of the Ticat offense. And so I'm guessing that McAllister will sort of be creatively worked into the run game for sure, and maybe we'll see some passing as well.
So it's an important game for the Tiger Cats. Pre-game show at 6 o'clock, kickoff at 7 o'clock. The Ottawa Redblacks are at Tim Hortons Field. Please be there. Should be a beautiful evening. Got the South Plaza Saturday, so that'll be a lot of fun for the fans. But what's happening on the field is most important. And the fact that the Tiger Cats are the only team in the East Division without a win. But they win that game, and they're right back in the mix. Finishing second, first, still not out of the question. They lose that game, and it's too early to say they still can't catch those teams ahead of them. But boy, that makes a big difference. Ottawa with 2 wins or tied with Ottawa with 1 win. This is a pretty important game.
It is, and it seems there's constantly a lot of seasons. It's been you've played all these West teams in these summer months, and this is after the game this weekend against Ottawa, you've played all your East Division opponents once. And you don't want to, go 0 for 3 against those East teams. Like we said, that is sort of the difference between this year and last year. A win this weekend is, really, really vital to how they progress through the season. Being that they've already played their East Division opponents, Montreal and Toronto already having gotten a win against Hamilton. So, Great night to be great. Why not go out there and get your first win, Hamilton? And I'm certainly excited to get up there, RJ, with you and call the game.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to see what the Tiger Cats have done in this bye week. Oh, and by the way, the drone show. Remember the drone show got rained out in the home opener? Well, the drone show presented by First Ontario will happen after the game, and looking at the forecast, it's going to be beautiful, so there shouldn't be any reason for it not to happen. So if you're in attendance, stay afterward, enjoy the show, and we'll be celebrating Pride at the stadium during that game as well. So it's going to be a lot happening for you if you can make it to Tim Hortons Field. If you can't, please tune into the Ticats Audio Network, listen.ticats.ca. Myself and Luke Tasker will have the call. Andy and Bubba will have the pregame at 6 o'clock. Luke, looking forward to this one against Ottawa. We'll see you there.
Me too, RJ. See you there.
Thanks for listening to Ticats This Week.
It's been another busy week for your Hamilton Tiger Cats. Luke Tasker and RJ Broadhead have covered it all, and now we would like to hear from you. Email us anytime at gameday@ticats.ca. Subscribe to the Ticats Audio Network on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.